And welcome back to Music Free Static, and I have a question for you. Do you feel the need for a really late movie review? Yes, no, it's a horrible intro, but it's a fun movie. So we're going to talk about Top Gun Maverick today, okay? Now, as is often the case with these really late movie reviews, I don't get to see movies typically when they come out in the theaters. One, I don't like going to the theater. I don't like spending the money on it. I don't like the crowds. But the other side of it is I don't often get to pick them up off the DVD or Blu-ray rack. I don't have a lot of these movies on streaming, so it can be a while before I get around to seeing them. And it's a shame because Top Gun Maverick is a fun movie. Now, let me give you a little bit of background here, okay? I grew up in the 80s, okay? I watched Top Gun a lot, okay? I watched it all the time. Top Gun is one of those movies that really drove home for me my love of flying and my desire to be a pilot, okay? Now, I wasn't the only one. I also had Star Wars, okay? But Top Gun was the one that did it for me. And it was Top Gun that almost had me enlisting in the Navy. Almost. Because eventually I decided that one, would rather be a teacher. That didn't work out either, but did lead eventually to the career I have now. But, man, I loved it. And I love flying. And the opportunity I actually had to fly, I was too small, really, to fly, unfortunately. I did take a few flying lessons. I had a hard time seeing over the control panel sometimes, but it was so much fun. And Top Gun was the reason for that. So when they made a sequel, I don't want to say, no, maybe I want to say cautious. Okay, I was going to say skeptical, but that's not quite right. I was cautious, okay? Because 'tis the season of gratuitous remakes and sequels, okay? We are making sequels to 80s movies that don't necessarily need sequels, right? Okay, so that said, Top Gun Maverick was a lot of fun, but it didn't quite have the edge of the original, and I'm not entirely sure why. It was, I don't want to quite want to say formulaic, but that might actually be the right word. Okay, now it's not a bad follow up to the original. It's a good movie. Okay, but it really does seem to have, I don't know. It's said it that lack of, I don't know, something. There's something missing to Top Gun Maverick to really push it over the edge for me, okay? And I know I'm stuttering for words and stammering around and walking into walls of grammar, but there's something missing. Now, the whole storyline is fairly predictable, okay? You've got Maverick, who they just cast as the miracle pilot who can do anything, okay? And sometimes pushes things too far. Not surprising, okay? Given the way they pushed him, they kind of want Maverick to be a superhero in a lot of ways, okay? And that was, I think, what was great about the original. Maverick was good, okay? He was phenomenal, but one, he wasn't better than his instructor, right? Viper was a better pilot than Maverick was in a lot of ways, but Maverick was still human. He still had to deal with the death of his co-pilot. He had to deal with the fact that he couldn't do everything, right? Okay, so in Top Gun Maverick, no, dude's a miracle worker, right? Doesn't matter what's going on, he can do it, and you just know he's going to be able to do it, okay? So, as I said, the movie overall was kind of predictable. As soon as you see Goose's kids show up and you know they've got beef, you know Maverick and Rooster are going to patch things up, right? They're 100% going to. You know this from the get-go. There is no way they come out of this movie not having things patched up. Okay? As soon as you get the jerk admiral who doesn't want Maverick to be there teaching these pilots how to do this top secret, stupid, crazy bombing run, you know almost immediately that Maverick is going to get yelled at for something, okay? And two, probably going to get bounced and get fired from his teaching gig. And you also know he's going to come back, right? That is just how the story is going to go. And you know this. That doesn't mean the execution was bad. Doesn't mean they did it. It just means the story is predictable, okay? You also know the minute that Maverick sees the girl interest, right? He sees Penny, and you realize, oh, yep, here they are. They've got history, and they're, they're going to hook up again, right? It's just, there are these things that just seem to have to happen, right? And then you also know the one jerk pilot who is also very good, but is just an outright stone cold jerk. Monster of a person. Horrible, horrible human being. Okay, it's not quite that bad. But the dude is just an egomaniac jerk. And you know, as soon as he gets paid to not go on the mission, that he's going to show up anyway in some way and save the day. But he has no character growth. Okay, so you go back to Top Gun, and you had that sort of, wasn't quite that bad, but that the egomaniac type, I'm better than everybody and I know it, was Iceman. The difference was that Ice was human. You could see his personality. You could see that he actually cared about other people. And while he still had an ego at the end of the movie, he had that, he had some change. He had some understanding. You could see him come down off his pedestal after Goose died in the original and, try to comfort Maverick and try to, right? You don't get any of that with Hangman in Top Gun Maverick. He's just a jerk, and he always is a jerk, and they try to have that Iceman Maverick moment at the end with him making up to Rooster, and it just feels fake. Okay. But, at least there is some sort of something there, I guess. And of course, there is a beach scene. There's a scene where all these pilots, including Tom Cruise, who has to, I think it's in his contract, he has to be shirtless in these movies, but there is, of course, a beach scene. And there was, okay? And of course, he gets yelled at for it. Right? Now, his argument is correct, but so the Admiral comes down, yells out, "Why aren't you in the sky? Why aren't you training?" Maris, you wanted me to build a team. There they are, as the pilots are playing this version of football. Okay. Right. So that was, at least he's got, hey, this is a team building exercise. It's okay. They're not in the air, but I need to build a team. Okay, cool. Fine. Now, all of that said, okay, the movie was very well executed. Okay. Despite all of my complaints about the predictability and all of that, it still was a good movie. Okay. The acting was great. There are some characters I really liked. There's some characters who I wanted to like, but where they were utterly forgettable. Okay. I don't know the names of half the characters. Now, part of this could just be me. Okay. But aside from Maverick, of course, Rooster and Hangman, and Bob, who they make a big joke about his name, I don't really know the names of any of the characters. They're kind of one-dimensional. They're there to fill seats. Okay, some of them literally are there to fill seats. It's the whole, we need 6, we've got 12, half of you aren't going, and literally half of them are just riding the bench. They sit in the background, or they're in one shot of Maverick shooting them down, in air quotes, you know. But that's it, right? But still, most of it goes okay. Now, one of the things that made Top Gun great was the dogfight. Okay. It was the shots of the planes in the air doing, exciting dogfighty goodness. Okay. There was almost none of that throughout most of this movie. Okay. Why? Well, partly because they're not teaching these students to dogfight. They're teaching them to be bombers. Okay. Ultimately, this is a bombing mission. In the original Top Gun, they were teaching the students, they were teaching the pilots to be the best dogfighters they could be, masters of air combat maneuvering. Okay. That was the whole premise of that movie. Okay. This one, Top Gun Maverick, he's teaching them to fly through a narrow canyon and drop a bomb. Okay. And then, then we have to get out and possibly dogfight against hyper advanced fighters while they're flying these old FA-18s. Okay. It's a bombing run. So you don't get any of that fun dogfighting until the end. Okay. Because, of course, at the end of the mission, they drop the bombs and then they have to get out. And they have to get out by getting away from these two super advanced fighters. Okay. Great. So they do, and there is some dogfighting. Some of that looks okay. But I don't know what it was. It felt, I don't know, it was pretty. It looked good. But it never felt like it had the tension of the original. Now, again, maybe it's because I'm old and cynical and nothing impresses me anymore. I don't know. But it was just, it never really felt like it had the tension, maybe, right? Now, once Maverick gets shot down, that he's not going to stay shot down. At some point, he's going to get in a plane and get out. Again, it talks about the predictability. Heck, they mentioned that these random Eastern Europeans or whomever they're bombing have F-14 Tomcats amongst their arsenal, and Maverick is going to end up back in a Tomcat. Okay, and of course he does, and Rooster, who he saved, he got shot down saving Rooster. Of course, Rooster gets shot down coming to save Maverick. And they both end up in a Tomcat, right? And it's just, they've got to go. And it was fun seeing the Tomcat again. It is still my favorite fighter, right? Oh yeah, the F-22 is just lethal. And the F-35 is a government disaster of an airplane, but still looks pretty. Okay. But, and speaking of weird questions, okay, they're flying F-18s for the mission for reasons. They give a really hand-wavy reason why they can't use a more modern fighter like an F-35, which they have. You see them on the deck of the carrier, right? Why isn't Hangman hanging out in an F-35 waiting to come rescue them? Okay, instead of an F-18 Super Hornet. I don't know. It's because they had F-18s that they could fly, is what it is, right? But it looked okay, right? It just, I don't know. Again, I said the whole movie just seemed to lack the edge of the original. And, and it's hard for me to say why, and it's hard for me to get past some of that. Talk about, there was some great stuff. I actually really liked I liked Maverick in some ways coming to grips with who he is they tend to just throw it all away by, when he has everything taken away from him and he actually has to experience real growth. They just reset that by making him the team leader rather than, training these other pilots or whatever. Okay. But all of his interactions with Penny are great. That dynamic seemed to work well. Especially as he's talking about some of his concerns with trying to patch things up with Rooster, trying to get these kids ready to fly this mission, all of that stuff. You see that, and that works out well. But those really are almost the only characters that actually have any growth. I guess Rooster does too, but I'm complaining a lot, but really it was good. And also it was great seeing Val Kilmer again. Now, I've kind of knew when it first came out, I knew Val Kilmer hadn't done much in the way of acting for a while. And I found out, no, he had a disease. I might have had cancer that was affecting his vocal cords. He couldn't speak. Okay. Well, they brought him back with an in-story reason why he's not able to speak. And it was great. And it was great seeing him try to act again. And I don't remember if they had his son dub his voice because he couldn't speak, but they still needed him to say a couple of things. Okay. But it was great seeing that again. It was great seeing that, yes, they actually were friends after the incidents in the movie, Top Gun. Right. So yeah, there was some good stuff going on there. Okay. And it wasn't just nostalgia bait. Okay, which it could very well have played that way, as much of if anybody could kick Maverick in the butt and get him to get his head out of his cockpit, out of his problems, and actually face what's going on, it's Ice, right? But yeah, so that was all played okay. I said there's a lot of stuff that was good about the movie. It was just utterly predictable, and said it didn't, for me, lacked some of the edge that the original had. It just seemed safe, maybe is the word I want to go with. I also want to talk about the bombing a little bit. Not because probably because I don't believe the world they set up that requires that an F-18 hit this thing rather than any sort of other high altitude munitions or something like that. Okay, because I watched those videos from Desert Storm. Okay, which was in the early 90s, recall, where if you can get a spotter up on a hill, you can drop those laser guided bombs from altitude and they will hit those targets. You don't need necessarily an F-18 to roll in and go. Okay. But the way they've got this set up, they have to come in, they bomb the target, and then they have to do the steep climb over the top of this mountain and go. And I saw that. I said, you know what? I've seen this before. Where have I seen this before? And where I've seen it before is Hot Shots. Okay, which I should do a really late movie review of Hot Shots too, because it's a fun movie to talk about. But coming out of Hot Shots, you get Charlie Sheen's character, Topper Harley, bombs Saddam Hussein, literally drops a bomb in his lap, and then has to climb out and escape. And he hits the side of a canyon wall and goes. Okay, it's really stupid, and the whole movie is fun, but I swear it's the same sort of thing that they did in Maverick as well. As, oh, yep, quick, climb. And as I was looking at that, it's like, this I've seen this type of thing before. Where have I seen it? And to have seen it in Hot Shots, which is a spoof of Top Gun. Yeah, okay. Okay. So yeah, it was good. It's enjoyable. It's definitely worth the watch. It is fun. I enjoyed it. But don't go in expecting surprises. Don't go in expecting the weird twist, right? Because it's not going to happen. This is a very much A to B to C story. Okay. But it was great. And, definitely one of those I will watch again, potentially. It's on my wish list. I'm happy to see that one again. But it's just, um, I said, don't go in expecting anything overly surprising. Okay. But that's okay. I don't need a Shyamalanian twist in every movie. Okay. Okay. I don't. So, so that's it. Let me know if you've seen it. What do you think? What do you like, dislike about it? Whatever. It's the other nice thing about doing a really late movie review. Obviously, I didn't care about spoilers because it's been out for months, a year maybe. It's been out for a while. Okay, yeah, so let me know what you think. Do you like it? Do you like Top Gun? And we're all in for this one too. Let me know. Drop a comment here on YouTube or on Spotify, and let me know what you thought. And until next time, be excellent to each other. And this is Music Free Static signing off.